what's with the principles and the laws of feet and butterflies and everything? I've heard rumors.
Well, they're probably all true. There are actually 5 principles in open space that we very carefully enunciate at the beginning, and 1 law, which we call the law of 2 feet. But unlike any other situation, these are not things that you must do. These are things you're going to do anyhow, always do, but always feel guilty about. So, for example, first principle is, in coming to a meeting, whoever comes are the right people. And you sort of look at this, thinking of all the time we try and get the right people to the meeting. But the truth of the matter is, the only people who really have a right to be at the meeting are the people who care to be there. Mm-hmm. And having a whole bunch of people who don't care is an assured way not to get anything done. So if it's quite voluntary, whoever comes are clearly the right people because they cared to be there. Second one, whatever happens is the only thing that could have. There's no reason to worry about what might have been, could have been, or should have been. That's immaterial. The only thing that exists is what's happening now. And what we learn, and then point out to folks, is if you really pay attention to now, it's typically so rich and the opportunities are so enormous that thinking about either what could have been or should have been is immaterial. Third one, whenever it starts is the right time. This drives managers crazy. But the truth of the matter is no meeting has ever, in the entire history of the cosmos, started on time. It always starts precisely when it's ready, and that's always the right time. Not incidentally, that's the story of creativity. Mm-hmm. Creativity doesn't start according to the clock, it starts when it's ready to. Then the 5th one, which I just noticed, wherever it happens is the right place. Mm-hmm. And this came out of watching films and talking to people who were in Tahrir Square and Tiananmen Square. And what we noticed was it was all open space. It was all swirls of people gaggling together and then spinning apart and coming together. This is the process. This is not the structure. This is the flow. And the reports were the same. We had these intense conversations. We were really honest, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden it dawned on me that, well, of course, the phenomenon of self-organization is not something that gets ginned up only when we do, quote, open space. Right. It's 24/7, 7 days a week for the last 13.7 billion years. And so, of course, it happens all the time. So, but noticing that is useful.
And valuing it.
And valuing it. So, wherever it happens is the right place. And then the last one is, when it's over, it's over. We tend to spend an awful lot of time trying to preserve or this or that or the other. And the truth of the matter is, everything has a beginning, middle, and end. And hanging on to what was won't help you. So, it's over, it's over. The law of 2 feet says very simply that if it, and we're talking about a meeting, but I find it very useful in life generally. Well, useful in life first, and then works in the meeting. If at any time you find yourself in any place where you're neither learning nor contributing, use your 2 feet. Go somewhere else. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, what happens in open space is that people will go off and they'll join other groups. We call them bumblebees. They will buzz in and buzz out of groups. Everybody says they're disruptive. They aren't. Everybody quickly recognizes they do what bumblebees do, cross-pollinate, carry new ideas a little bit. Then there are other people who just kind of hang out. We call them butterflies. Mm-hmm. And everybody says, why'd they even bother to come? And the answer is, you just watch them. They will sit somewhere quietly. And then somebody else will come along and sit next to them. Because the butterfly does just what butterflies do in nature. They're beautiful. That's it. That's all it is. And a conversation will start that'll never start any other way. Okay. There's 5 principles and the 1 law. That's what we do all the time, but we always feel guilty about it. when you think about it. We're always worried that we're late. Huh? This is getting over. Well, what else would you expect? The sun sets, doesn't it? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the 5 principles in the one law are really descriptive and not prescriptive. They're simply an alert. Check out what's going on here. And
that's kind of your stance in the world, isn't it?
yeah, it's the old main thing. Don't fix it if it ain't broke.
Even if it's broke, don't fix it. You just notice it.
Well, yeah. You know, it may be that it's just taking a breath.
Exactly.
I just find we're racing in to fix things before we have any remote idea of the complexity of them, the interconnectedness of it, whatever. And then we get those wonderful things called unintended consequences and whatever. And the truth of the matter is, if you just cool it, every system I know has its own internal and usually very beautiful logic and function.
It's a healing process.
Right, and healing is not me doing something, it's the system doing for itself what it can only do, heal itself. Because it's just, I don't know.
Now there are moments when expertise and stuff is useful, but it's not a fundamental way of being and functioning. Or do you question that also?
I'd much rather have somebody who's been there than somebody who's not, but I'd also rather have somebody who's humble enough to understand, yes, I've been there, but I'll tell you what, I'm just beginning to know what I don't know. I think that we have, at some level, we've created, if you can put it this way, I think a culture of answers, and forgotten that the useful part is the questions.